I believe we should always try to look at issues and draw logical, even if unpopular, conclusions to arrive at the stone-cold truth. This one won't win any popularity contest, I'm sure. But those of us who have been around the church any time at all have no doubt heard sermons or at least many quotes from the Old Testament book of Isaiah. For instance, most of us will be familiar with passages from Isaiah such as, "All of us like sheep have gone astray," or certainly we've heard the verses at Christmas time quoted from chapter 9, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given." However, you probably haven't heard many sermons from Isaiah chapters 2 and 3 because it would not be well received in today's politically correct climate. Chapters 2 and 3 of Isaiah deal with God's judgment concerning the sins of ancient Israel. But the premise here, I believe, has application to all nations and all times. Chapter 2, verse 2 reads, "Now it will come about in the last days." Well, there certainly is no lack of those who tell us when that is. But regardless of your interpretation of that, I think it would do well for us to read and even reread these chapters. You may well be surprised and find yourself saying, "Wow, that sounds like today's world." For instance, chapter 2, verse 7 says, "The land has been filled with silver and gold. There's no end to their treasures, and their land is filled with horses and chariots." You probably could just as easily insert automobiles here. Then chapter 3, verse 9 says, "They display their sin like Sodom. They do not even conceal it." Well, even a casual look at our current events and headlines should convince us this is true today, if we know anything at all about what the sin of Sodom was. Then I would especially call our attention to chapter 3, verses 4 and 12, which states that women and children will rule over the people. As one Bible commentator says, when the Lord gives a nation the leadership they desire and deserve, it is either a blessing or a curse. In Judah's case, in the time of Isaiah, it was a curse. In the United States, in the 21st century, it is a curse, unquote. I would simply add, we need to look no further than the current leadership in Washington to evaluate the validity of that statement. We've all seen news stories about youths who run multi-million-dollar companies, as well as youths who demand and receive national attention by acting up, such as the Arab Spring and Occupy movements. These types of stories are almost daily, and I could go on, but you get the picture. The youth of today, without question, are the most marketed to and catered to group like no other in our history. Then also the women are included in these verses as well. Did I mention this would not be well received or win a popularity contest? The fact is, however, there are more women leaders politically, socially, in business, in religion, and in almost any other avenue you care to examine than at any other time in history. Again, quoting from a Bible commentator on the Isaiah passages, "Women ruling over them was seen as a curse, not a blessing. Certainly God may raise up particular women at particular times to be the leaders in different spheres. Deborah in the book of Judges and Esther are examples of this, but this is entirely different from a society where, in general, women rule over them. Such a society is cursed, not blessed," unquote. Much of this reality in our day can be attributed, I'm sure, to the feminist movements of the 60s and 70s. However, beyond that, perhaps we may need look no further than the prophecy of Isaiah to begin to understand what is happening. Are we a nation ruled by women and children? Is it possible judgment has begun in our nation just as was prophesied for ancient Israel? I'm Darrell Nelson, and that's the stone cold truth.